flag
United
the
States
States of America,
to the
to
republic,
the republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
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 God,
under God,
with liberty,
indivisible, with
justice
liberty
for
and
all.
justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Dr. Joyner, Dr. White, are we ready for public participation?
Yes, we are, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank
I'd
you.
like to welcome the group to public participation. We have you have a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Public participation can occur for at least an hour and will be shut down at the end of 60 minutes. We also ask that you be respectful of people, not go after people, not mention names, but certainly you're free to mention problems and as well as compliments if you have any. So we can begin with the first speaker, Dr. White. I've set the timer for 3 minutes.
Did everyone hear that? Because I can hear it on speaker, but I'm not sure if you were able to hear it. So 3 minutes per person, up to an hour for public participation. After an hour, we'll have to shut it down so that we can continue the meeting. He said, be respectful, don't mention staff names. But you feel free to discuss any problems you may have or compliments as well. And with that, we'll get started. Dr. White and Dr. Joyner.
Our first speaker is Kim Rogers.
I will start the timer when you start speaking. I don't hear anyone.
Dr. Joyner, she's talking.
Okay, I can't hear her, so I couldn't start the timer.
We appreciate the fact that someone
Can you hear her now?
I can.
still unclear as to when the rugs will be removed. This is not the only library or space in any of our buildings that is covered in mold. I myself have dealt with it when I was a library in a building, and we just threw the couch away and was told to wipe everything off with bleach and water, and that would be my job to have that done. So I really think there needs to be a plan when buildings are, especially our buildings who are new. We went through all of that, updating all the buildings. How are we maintaining these buildings moving forward? Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And I really do need for the people to speak loud enough so I can start the timing.
Okay.
Our next speaker is Marco.
Can we please give them one of the mics
Yeah, that would be helpful.
from board members so that the participants online may hear?
Thank you, Dr. Yarborough. That'd be very helpful.
Marco Francesco, I am the word technologist at Wilbur Cross, even though I am devoid of red tonight, which I have no excuse. So what I would like to talk about, write this down. What I'd like to talk about is the condition of Wilbur Cross High School, which I think is unsatisfactory. But first, I would like to support our tradespeople. I know the 3 electricians. They're only 3. They're good men. They're excellent electricians. I know the plumber. I believe the other day he says, I am not sure whether there is another plumber with me. So the maximum we can have, I believe, is 2 plumbers for the whole district and possibly just 1. I know the HVAC guys. They're good men. I think there's 3. They all know what they're doing. There's just not enough of them. So what happens at Wilbur Cross? Because of what I do for a living at Wilbur Cross, being in wood technology, I expect broken chairs now and then. I expect a broken table on occasion. I get that stuff. It goes with the job. Happy to do it. But certain things that I've done don't make sense to me. Nothing to do with the electricians, but a few years ago, I replaced 74-foot fluorescent tubes in Autotech, 18 feet off the floor on a scissor lift, which I have a license. I have a 30-hour OSHA card. I can use a forklift. I can use a scissor lift. But if I'm up 18 feet, how do we get to the point where we had 70 bulbs out in Autotech? It's dark in there. He can't teach his class. Am I covered by insurance when I'm that high off the floor? Or why did I help? Because I know how. We have a problem. I try to fix it. I've probably changed 200 light bulbs in Autotech and wood shop over the years. And it's higher than the ceiling by quite a bit, so I'm way off the ground. Am I supposed to be up there? Last year I fixed a drain. And the ice machine, which is no longer working, in culinary. Should I be doing that? Well, we have one or possibly two plumbers. I can do it. There's a problem, I can help, so I do it. Should I be doing these things? These are during my prep periods, but I can help, so I do it, or I stay after school. So these are things I've done over the years. Concrete ramp, there is an 8-inch by 8 feet long aluminum threshold lying against the wall for 3 years, goes across an expansion joint so people don't trip. I looked at it for 3 years. Somebody's got to fix this thing. So I did it. I know the work order's written. I can drill into concrete. So now I did it. I could list countless things. That's not why I'm here. We have good tradespeople. We don't have enough tradespeople for whatever reason. I suppose it's money. But these things fall to somebody, or the building goes into a state of disrepair.
Time.
Our building managers, was that time?
Yes, it was.
Well, just quickly, building managers. Over the course of the 3 building managers I've seen, I don't know if they have a budget for tools of their own. I lend, over the years, countless hammers, pliers, screwdrivers, screw guns, drills. Should I be doing that? Shouldn't they have some of their own tools? The V-wing floods at heavy rain, either I lend them shop vacs, which they don't have, or I shop vac the flooded classrooms on my own during my prep periods. Once again, why? Because I want to help. Shouldn't fall to me. I don't believe. And so we need more people. The people we have are qualified, just not enough. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brian Grimrod, followed by Kate Ddio and Kimmy Neil.
Good evening. My name is Brian Grunrod, and I'm a proud history teacher at Wilbur Cross High School. Cross has been my home for over a decade. I believe in our school leaders, past and present, and the students. Cross has provided me many opportunities to excel as an educator. Wilbur Cross has the largest school student population in the city, yet it's the least funded per pupil. Our staff is fantastic. We perform miracles every day. We welcome students from around the world and give them a home. The relationship between the students and the staff have a tremendous impact. Our students thrive on Cross pride. As we started this school year, I wanted to instill in my students the ideals of civic dispositions. There are 12 of them: respect, compromise, civil discourse, individual responsibility, generosity, civic mindedness, patience and perseverance, compassion, open-mindedness, tolerance, loyalty, and self-discipline. In essence, it all comes down to respect. As you listen to what I have to say, please remember what you think the word respect means and ask yourself, is this respectful towards the staff and students at Cross? When I returned from a holiday break on January 3rd, 2023, I walked into my classroom to find it flooded. My civics textbooks and my coworkers' computer equipment for his after-school club ruined, all from a storm before the break. On the fly, I had to find a new classroom to host my classes. Instead of finding what my students did for their break, I had to clean up a mess. It took weeks to address the problem. A Band-Aid just replacing ceiling tiles at first after cleaning the floodwaters. The next rainstorm came and again the room flooded. My assistant principal had to go up onto the roof with the contractor to see that the roof had blown off. We were told that Cross was supposed to get a new roof, but it wasn't in the budget. It may happen in the next few years. The roof was finally patched and the flooding stopped, but water-damaged ceiling tiles remained. Water issues are familiar problems on the third floor. Throughout my time, we've seen buckets collecting water in the hallways. When we returned from the pandemic, I joked that we now had a Zen garden with a water feature. Since our classroom clocks do not work now, I had to purchase digital clocks that had the temperature gauge on there. From the beginning of the school year, I have not seen my classroom temperature change it only is between 75 and 80 degrees each day. Temperatures throughout the school vary hot and cold, no matter the season. During the return to school protocols during the pandemic, an important focus was on the quality of the air filters within the school building. The New Haven Independent had a story in February 2021 regarding the lack of maintenance of the air filters throughout the school district. My question is, are these filters being changed? The school is infested with rodents. A few years ago, I had to switch classes midway through because mice were running around. The other day, I had to kill a cockroach while I was crawling up my classroom. So as I conclude, as my time is up, I just have to say that there are other issues too that have to deal with this brand new turf field we put in. Grass is growing in it. It's not being maintained. But finally, I just want to ask you to go back to these civic dispositions that I'm trying to teach my students. We need to be respected at Cross. I'm asking that this board, the Board of Alders and city leaders, to fix the problems at Cross, to help us with the overcrowding, and to help us being underfunded. Stop kicking the can down the road. The road has ended. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate Ddio.
Good evening. My name is Kate Ddio, and I'm a proud teacher at Wilbur Cross. A week ago, I sat in Cross's auditorium surrounded by my awesome colleagues. We were asked by one of our own how many of us had ever seen with our own eyes vermin in our classroom. Almost every hand went up, but my jaw dropped. I knew we had rodents. I'll never forget being greeted by a dead one at the door to my classroom on the first day of school 2 years ago, but I didn't realize how pervasive the problem was in the building. We were then asked how many of us had HVAC issues, and again, almost every hand went up. Today, on a 70-degree day, my classroom was an uncomfortable 78 degrees. On Friday, it was 80 degrees. Next door, though, the room is freezing cold and kids are shivering by the end of an 80-minute block. This is a minuscule snapshot of what teaching conditions and therefore students' learning conditions are like on a daily basis at Cross. The ripped stair treads that lay in each stairwell scare me when I walk up and down them, but I'm a middle-aged woman who watches where I go as I walk up and down the stairs. But I begin to worry about the kids, the teenagers, who are just by nature of being teenagers talking, and they're distracted as they're walking up and down the stairs. How long will it be before someone trips and falls over the loose and hanging rubber treads? On our very first day back to school this year, our CAA was held in Cross's library. The chairs that had been placed out had visible mold on them and had to be swapped out for chairs that were not covered in mold. I am a lifelong asthma sufferer, and while it's normally well managed, I've been puffing on my rescue inhaler more times than I can even count this school year. I can't help but wonder if it's due to those 6 hours spent sitting in the moldy library on our first day back. Tim Shriver spoke to us about dignity during our convocation. Board members, we need your help to give our kids a dignified setting in which to learn and a dignified place in which to teach. I thank you for the action that you've already taken to help improve Cross, but I beg you to please keep your vigilance and continue to help create a safe environment for us and for our kids. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kimmy Neil, and this is my 15th year teaching at Wilbur Cross. I am calling on the Board of Education, the City of New Haven, and the State of Connecticut to invest significant resources into the cleanup, maintenance, and monitoring of the condition of our school building. In my classroom, I have a wall tapestry that says, "In this classroom, you matter, you are important, you are loved, you are valued, you have a voice, you are respected, you are strong, you are safe." How can this possibly be true when for the first 3 weeks of school, my ceiling and walls were covered in black mold and dust? In my 15 years at Wilbur Cross, I have seen my principal in rain boots with a mop and wet vac trying to dry my classroom because 2 inches of standing water cover the room, 2 years in a row. A mouse running around my classroom while I try to conduct a student-led conference with a student's family. Rain pouring through my colleague's ceiling into a trash can below, the same issue unaddressed for years on end. Floor tiles that become so waterlogged that they crack and crumble, revealing the concrete subfloor. Peeling stair treads, bathrooms without working water faucets or locking doors, and classrooms at temperatures that make learning impossible. The truth is, I could use all my time listing egregious facilities issues I have personally witnessed in 15 years at Cross. No one in this room wants their child to learn in this environment. No one in this room would want to work in such an environment. Last week, I noticed what seemed like spilled Gatorade on a student desk when I came into my room in the morning. Soon I realized that droplets of a pink liquid were all over the floor, desktops, and chairs underneath the 4 ceiling vents in my classroom that were covered in mold. It appeared that someone attempted to clean the ceiling, was unsuccessful, and left the room in that condition. I cleaned every desk and chair in my classroom that morning because my students should not have to sit in sticky pink liquid as they try to learn. The next morning, I came in and the ceiling vents looked as if they had been scrubbed. The mold and dirt were still present, though much less visible. I was excited until I saw the debris of dust, mold, and black fuzz all over my students' desks and chairs. For the second day in a row, I scrubbed each and every desk and chair in my classroom because my students deserve a clean and healthy place to learn. We need everyone in this school system to act like their child is sitting in our classrooms. We need increased capital funding from the City of New Haven and the State of Connecticut to ensure that our school is repaired and maintained. It is unacceptable that the facilities in the largest high school in a major city in one of the richest states in our country has reached this level of dysfunction. But the Board of Education must also ensure that the work is done well. If private contractors that you have hired are not treating our classrooms as if it is their children who learn there, then those contractors need to be held accountable. Return the outsourced custodial jobs to Local 278. This shift to privatization has failed our students and our school. It is time to show our school community that they are truly loved, valued, respected, and safe. It is essential for the health, safety, and dignity of our students and staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mia Brewer, followed by Chris Mendoza, followed by Ashley Stockton.
Good evening. My name is Mia Acumulada Brewer, NHPS class of 1985, mother of 3 NHPS graduates, school counselor, union steward, secretary of NHFT Local 933, and longtime resident and taxpayer in New Haven. Tonight, I wear my brother-in-law Tom's Wilbur Cross swim team jacket from 1985. He was captain of the then vibrant swim team. My husband, James, also swam the 500 and other races in the Wilbur Cross pool. I mention these personal details to show how familial and familiar Wilbur Cross's history has been to me. I could cry thinking back on how it used to be and how it is now. Today, the pool is a terrarium of mold, algae, and falling ceiling and tiles. The water is literally monster green. The school pool offered our students additional programming, a competitive swim team, summer camps, and open swim time for New Haven residents. This jacket is in mint condition after 40 years because it was taken care of. Yet our Wilbur Cross facility has not been taken care of. To generate funding, the pool area could be rented now for the set of a post-apocalyptic film. This is how my mind works when I am told to think creatively and do more with less. I have brought a sample photo journal for the Board of Education because they say a picture paints 1,000 words, and that is how many I am allotted tonight. You already know about the mold in our library and music rooms and the backing up grease trap and sewage compromising our culinary programming. I am shocked, however, that no one has spoken of the pool, or better yet, cesspool. In these photos are this year's pool license from the City of New Haven's Health Department, just to show you how preposterous and laughable it has all become. This is an unlaughable, dangerous, and serious matter. In addition, are samples of the cockroaches, broken radiators, soap dispensers, buckets of to catch leaks, a carriage chained to the tennis courts, and the grass and hedges overgrowing our new turf and field, to name a few. The Cross staff and administration care about our students and each other, but we cannot achieve all our educational and social and emotional goals under these unhealthy, unsafe working and learning conditions. Our hope is turning into despair. The district board and city must activate and get the money we deserve from our state's bonds and rainy day fund to fully renovate our facility and demand help from our legislators at the state and federal level. Stop the waste of money on privatized companies not following through. Stop wasting money on Band-Aid fixes and staff the parks and rec departments so they take care of the grounds. We also need the fire marshal to walk through and provide us with classroom and facility capacity limits. Wilbur Cross is overpopulated, understaffed, underfunded, and overburdened. We cannot stand complacent as a survival skill any longer. Our patience, resiliency, and sense of dignity have worn thin. The roof could cave in, or
Aye.
someone could get seriously hurt, and then there will be no other choice than to respond quickly. Please start taking care of us. We are here to work for and with you, but we cannot do so effectively under these dire circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Superintendent, esteemed members of our Board of Ed. My name is Chris Mendoza. I'm a New Haven resident and homeowner, Wilbur Cross multilingual learners teacher, and mom of 2 NHPS students. Last January, I read the Spiegel's partner study about building use cover to cover. I thought those architects missed the mark about both our enrollment and our facilities. Hill House, Cross, and Career are welcoming historic numbers of new immigrant students. In 2017, Cross served 1,458 kids. Today, that number is 1,802 and growing. In 2017, 287 of those students were multilingual learners. Today, and I checked today, the number is 576. 321 of them newcomers to the United States. We love working with this population. We welcome them throughout the school year, and we see our work as vital to building a multicultural democracy. But there are limits. Cross is bursting at the seams. And this brings me to facilities. The level of disrepair due to lack of basic upkeep is making it harder to provide that safe, calm environment every young person needs. The architects in the report reported Wilbur Cross High School's building in fair condition. This is wild. Consider the spaces that are completely unusable right now, mostly due to mold and other preventable problems. Our award-winning culinary team can't use its kitchen. Our entire music suite is shuttered, including band, chorus, instrument storage, and practice rooms. Our library is unusable, including 2 adjoining classrooms and 4 office spaces. And our swimming pool, as Mia pointed out, has been a mess for years. Our cool new manufacturing pathway even had to be moved off-site because there was nowhere to put it. Only 6 out of 18, I counted today, 6 out of 18 lights in the hallway where I work will turn on because the switch is busted. Is this fair condition? We're being asked to serve more and more kids with less and less physical space, and we love our students. But with few exceptions, every room in our building that's not closed down is in use all 8 class periods, 5 days a week. Kids and staff have been resourceful, creative stewards of our building, but we're done being patient. This is getting ridiculous. Our principal has a vision of transforming Cross into the premier comprehensive urban high school in the state, and we are on board, but we need you to do a couple of things. We need a transparent, proactive facilities plan, and we need it funded and implemented. We need you to equitably distribute students across all the high schools, including magnets, reducing overcrowding in our buildings. And we need to end the privatization experiment we began in 2011 and return to employing unionized full-time custodial workers who can make a living wage and take pride in the building they maintain. So we need your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Stockton.
Good evening, board members. My name is Ashley Stockton. I'm a proud teacher at Truman School and a proud parent of a Wilbur Cross senior. There are so many positives about Wilbur Cross. Most remarkable, though, is the people. I mean, just look at this room. The kids that attend Cross, their families who are engaged and committed to our school, Principal Matt Brown, the faculty, the staff. We are an awesome community full of pride and hope. Athletics at Cross are special and unique. Kids from all over New Haven play sports for Wilbur Cross. In the case of some sports, such as varsity lacrosse, Wilbur Cross is the only lacrosse team in this town, and everyone, both boys and girls, kids from Co-op, Metro, Sound, and HSC, put on Cross jerseys in order to play this sport. Wilbur Cross athletic coaches hail from Hill House, Metro, and schools throughout the district. Cross athletics is our community melting pot, where players, coaches, families, and fans are a united force. Come to a soccer game, a volleyball or football game, or a cross-country meet this fall, and you'll know that this is true. Our student athletes and our coaches need and deserve access to athletic facilities that are on par not only with neighboring towns, but are on par with the facilities across town at Bowen. Currently, the Cross Athletic Complex needs appropriate maintenance that is performed regularly, not just the week before graduation. Working ice machines. Ice is a necessity. It's not a luxury for high school sports. We're talking about the health of high school athletes. Currently, Cross has 2 ice machines. However, neither one of them is installed or wired for use. They're just sitting there useless. Our coaches go into their own pockets every game and practice and purchase and provide ice for their players for home games. It's embarrassing to them when visiting coaches do not have access to ice for players. Visiting coaches are like, where's your ice machine? I have a kid with a cramp, a pulled muscle, and our coaches have to say, we don't provide it, even though you provide it when we play at your facility. Our kids, our fans, our coaches, our opponents don't have access to working bathrooms. Forget locker rooms. We don't even have access to bathrooms with running water. Concessions and announcers. Perhaps this board, perhaps this city has determined that these are not needed. Our players' yards, their goals, their assists, none of them get announced. At most high schools in our state, announcers at a game are normal. This is also a real-world opportunity for students interested in sports media, and there are lots of them. Pride, grit, grace, and community are just some of the values that sports impart not only to athletes, but to fans. We are requesting that this board, the decision makers for our schools, mirror these same values back to our student athletes and coaches by doing what it takes to provide them with the basic athletic facilities they need, and then maintaining those investments. Roughly $12 million was allocated to Bowen Field for its renovation. And it's noteworthy that included in this evening's Finance and Operations report, a change order for repairs to the career swimming pool for roughly $1.3 million is listed. Therefore, we know this board has determined that money should be allocated to that swimming pool. The Wilbur Cross facilities and athletic complex have received the least while serving the most. We are looking to this board and to this administration to provide equitable funding, priority, and long overdue care to the Cross community. And also, Wilbur Cross boys varsity soccer is playing at 6:30 tonight at the field. Join us there because we're going to beat Guilford and take care of our field. Please, thank you.
Eric Techman, followed by Melody Gallagher, followed by Ddio Solsman.
Good evening. My name is Eric Teichman. I'm the proud band director at Wilbur Cross High School. We are fortunate at Cross to have dedicated spaces for music, equipment, and instruments for our students to learn, practice, and perform as they build connections, forge relationships, and represent our school with pride. Unfortunately, mold in parts of Cross, including the music wing, has disrupted the crucial beginning of this school year. Materials required many hours of cleaning in order to prepare for students' arrival. Myself, colleagues, administrators, even our principal spent those last days before students arrived disinfecting chairs, music stands, marching band uniform garment bags, instrument cases, and more, just so that we would be ready to receive students. Then, after 2 weeks of classes, we found out the air in the music wing was harboring high levels of mold, and we were relocated. I am grateful that we are receiving remediation services to return to our spaces swiftly. Thankfully, no instruments or equipment appear to have been permanently damaged. I am concerned, however, that in the future, if this happens again, the cost of remediation would increase exponentially if materials required professional cleaning, repair, or replacement. I'd hate to think what would happen if mold was growing inside every trumpet valve, on the pads of every clarinet, in the mouthpiece of every flute, or colonizing in large white speckled patches on the beautiful marching band uniforms generously paid for by this very board. Where would we be in that situation? Not only in terms of lost material items, but more importantly, in terms of the time students would be missing from participating in their program. The instruments, uniforms, equipment, supplies, materials, etc. in that wing are worth hundreds of thousands, and I'm terrified to think what would happen if they were destroyed or even unavailable for an extended period of time. The effects could have significant consequences to student participation felt for years. We have seen recently the impact of interruption on recovery through the pandemic. Not only how difficult it is to rebuild after time is lost, progress slowed, connections weakened, but also how in schools, recovery essentially occurs 1 year at a time, unlike other sectors where changes are made quarterly, monthly, or on a more fluid basis. In other words, if the next time this happens, it's worse and it's going to take 2 months or 3 months or more to recover, what's to stop a student from saying, well, there's no band for now and it's an elective anyway, so I'll just do something else this year? Who would blame them? What if 10 or 12 students say that? Where's the program midway through the year when the facilities problem has been addressed, but those students have already changed their schedules for the year? And what about the following year when those 7 or 9 who dropped but didn't graduate don't return because they don't want to get back into something they gave up last year? Recovery, as we've seen with the pandemic, lasts far longer than the interruption. I am concerned that if careful systems of preventative maintenance are not funded, implemented, and diligently maintained to manage these conditions and preclude them from recurring, the consequences could be severe. The music instruction and public performances of the Cross Band program are but one element I care to see protected. The connections, belonging, relationships, community, lessons of commitment, dedication, responsibility, collaboration, accountability, creativity, expression, listening, responding, and caring are all among the values that need to be protected, which thrive in the music wing at Cross. Thank you for your consideration and your continued support.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Melody Gallagher, a New Haven resident, New Haven Public School teacher for over 18 years, a current teacher at Wilbur Cross, and a New Haven Federation of Teachers executive board member. For the sake of time, I would like to make 3 main points. First, as we all know, Cross, as it should, shares its facilities with the community. When this happens, it feels like we're getting it right, truly becoming a community school. However, there are some concerns about this. At minimum, there needs to be a better process for permits. Classrooms should never be used as dressing rooms. There are bathrooms for that. And dedicated staff should be included in permit fees for running the auditorium booth and lights. Too often, instruction has been disrupted because of how these spaces have been left after community use. Additionally, these spaces see more wear from the constant use, whether it be the field, the stage, or the furniture and rooms used by various programs. If investments and an increase in maintenance are not made in our shared community spaces, then they will further deteriorate, affecting both teacher retention and student learning. I would also like to mention safety as it applies to fire code this evening. Often, Cross has been cautioned about violations when the fire marshal has come through. For one, the issue around replacing our doors needs to be dealt with immediately for obvious reasons. This cannot wait. It cannot wait for our students or anyone's students. This does not happen in North Haven, Brantford, West Haven, or anywhere else, and it shouldn't be happening here. On average, every day, Cross moves over 1,750 students throughout our halls through security, the lunchrooms, etc. This number takes into account absences since we have over 1,850 students on the books. Additionally, this number does not include the nearly 200 staff in the building as well. And why do I mention any of this? Every day, we are 400 students above the 1,350 that we're built for. Not only is this an equity issue, but it's a safety issue on many levels. We either need a building that is built for over 2,000 people or more, or we need our numbers to come in line with the intended capacity limits. Last, when it comes to facilities, at minimum, I'm asking that work orders that are health and safety related are dealt with immediately, and that the plans for remediation are clearly communicated to staff. There needs to be set timelines in place for all work orders. Staff should know how long something usually takes instead of it getting lost in the void of an online work order system. In order to implement this, we need a return of Local 287 at the helm and an increase in workforce to maintain our facilities. And long-term, as I've stated here in the past, we need a solid plan to increase capital funds from both the city and the state. This has gone on too long and goes well beyond the years of the current superintendent and makeup of the board. However, it does not mean that we can't begin to do something about it. Together, we can ensure that teachers have safe working conditions and students have healthy learning environments. Thank you. And as one last point, embedded in the board documents for this evening, under the agenda item details, it does say, and pardon me because I don't have reading glasses, public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The board will hear public comment for up to 90 minutes, not 60. Thank you.
Dear Board of Ed members and all those attending this evening, my name is Ddio Solsman. I am an English teacher at Wilbur Cross High School and a New Haven resident who believes in the transformative power of public education, but is also here to tell you that the current conditions of facilities at Wilbur Cross make a mockery of it. Wilbur Cross is an amazing school. It is amazing because of the passion and creativity of our teachers, the brilliance of our students, and the vision of our building's administrators. Cross is my home, and I plan for it to stay that way. But for that reason, the physical condition of this home makes me angry. I'm angry for the history teacher down the hall from me who's had a leak in his classroom for almost 2 years. I'm angry that my classroom and so many others are uncomfortable if it gets above or below certain temperatures that it regularly does during the school year because HVAC systems never get fixed, and that I and other teachers have never been issued fans or standing AC units by the district and have had to use our own money and resources to make our classroom temperatures tolerable. And now this year, the mold issues have rendered numerous classrooms and key school resources unusable. This year, I'm implementing an independent reading unit, which I'm really excited about. My students love it, but it's been significantly impeded because our school's library has been shut down. These are the ways that our city's neglect of its schools has affected me personally, but as you can see, there are so many other stories like mine. And here's the thing. The more this happens, the harder it is for me and every other teacher to look our students in the face and tell them that the skills and knowledge I'm trying to teach them, that we're trying to teach them, that the reason they're being asked to come into our school each day is actually valued by our society and city. What feels more honest is to tell them that their basic learning conditions matter less than the interests of Yale or powerful real estate developers or other interests in our city that make tens of millions of dollars while our schools continue to crumble. And I say this because this issue in our schools, I hope you guys fix it. I really want you to. That's why we're all out here tonight. But I think we all know that it's bigger than just this room why this is happening. And because as long as this insane wealth gap in our city exists, the claim that we have no money to make these basic repairs rings hollow. We have plenty of money in this city. We don't have a money problem. We have a power problem. And so And so I just want to say to everyone here, I'm really heartened. So many of us attended. I think it's great. What are we prepared to do together to change the power dynamics in our city to build the schools that our students deserve, and we know that we can? Thank you.
Okay. We have Steve Schraeg, Leslie Blateau, and Jake Halper. Steve Schraeg. Okay. Let's see now. So we're on to Leslie Blateau, Jake Halpern, and Maria Lara.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leslie Blateau. I'm a parent and teacher in New Haven and the president of the New Haven Federation of Teachers. And the conversation that we're having here in this city tonight, we are having a conversation in this city tonight that educators, students, and families simply do not have to have in Westport, in Glastonbury, and name other well-funded town in Connecticut. But here we are, and look at this crew here. Beautiful collection of people who care about public schools in this city. Here we are having to explain to our students, to our kids, why they get less than other kids in Connecticut, why they have more teacher vacancies in their schools, why their schools aren't maintained, why their schools might be making them sick, why there's only one operational pool in an entire city for an entire summer. If we're going to ensure that our students have access to the world-class education that they deserve, we need answers about when Wilbur Cross and other schools in this city will get some relief from the unacceptable and dangerous conditions they're experiencing. Because you've heard the laundry list of concerns. And I get it. You know, it takes this point maybe. You know, people reach out. Yeah, we'll check the work order. Yeah, we'll check the work order. It gets exhausting. And half of the announcements that came here at this podium tonight, I don't know about. There's only so much we can all keep up with because the system has broken down and failed people many, many years ago. So some questions. Why was the school cleared to open given the current state of facilities? How did summer come and go? How did millions and millions in ARP ESSER funds come and go? How were repairs and routine maintenance ignored? So we have a short-term demand. We absolutely need a City Hall Board of Ed Safety and Facilities Task Force formed immediately, not just of people who work in central office, but we need it with parents and students and union members from every bargaining unit. And we need to meet regularly at Wilbur Cross and other schools around the city to make sure that things are being followed up much more quickly than they are. We do recognize that some progress has been made. A week ago, I drove past Wilbur Cross on a Saturday and Serve Pro was in the parking lot, but we know we need more. You've got volunteers in this room. They will be willing to work with you. Please take them up on it. We also need to follow Connecticut state law. Why aren't tools for schools indoor air quality action kit being used in every building? Where are the indoor air quality and HVAC reports that Connecticut state law requires school districts to share? We know we need things cleaned. We know we need the remediation speeded. And we know we need increased capital funding from the city of New Haven and the state of Connecticut. And I'll echo what Mr. Solsman says. This is not just about money. This is about power. And we're building it so that we can ultimately get the resources that we know our students deserve. It's unacceptable that the staffing for maintenance and facilities is so low. One of our first speakers highlighted that. It's unacceptable that good union jobs have been outsourced to privatization scheme that's failed our students and our schools. And we need responsiveness from the board and from central office so that these concerns are addressed and repaired and fixed. Our students deserve an access to a world-class education. I know my time is up. I will close with this. We know the state is getting ready for their legislative session come January. We all must continue this pressure to ensure that the state of Connecticut removes the obstacles to ensuring funding reaches cities like New Haven. We can turn up for a meeting like this. We must turn up in partnership with this team to the state of Connecticut and demand that our students get what they deserve. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Folks, my name is Jake Halper, and I'm the president of the Wilbur Cross Parent Teacher Association. We have 160 members. We're here tonight to support our teachers. We see you, we value you, we appreciate you. We're going to try to do everything we can to help push this along. Let me tell you a little story. Some of you all know Chef Bradshaw, who leads our national championship culinary team. If you don't know, you can go and watch the PBS documentary on it. You'll cry like I did when you watch it. So one of our big concerns as parents is we don't want these teachers to leave, right? So this year I called up Chef and I said, there he is right there. I said, Chef, we want to give you the kudos you deserve. Let's do a big ceremony. We'll have our brilliant band teacher, Mr. Teichman, roll out that percussion drums, and your kids will cook the meal and we'll celebrate the whole thing. He said, Jake, I love it. There's just one problem. I don't have a working kitchen. And Mr. Teichman, our all-star band teacher, he can't get into his music suite. That's where we are right now. I'd like to go back and do another event at the school library. I'm an author, but the doors are closed. Folks, I'm a positive person. I believe in the power of positive thinking with my whole heart, but I'm also a journalist, as some of you know, and a realist. And here's the truth of it. This is a crisis. Our school is rotting from the inside. The roof is leaking, mold is festering, and the plumbing is busted. And we have all-star teachers like Mr. Teichman and Chef Bradshaw, and they can't do their job. The parents in our organization, we love Wilbur Cross. And the proof is we have entrusted to this school and to you all the most valuable thing we have, which is our kids. Has that trust been betrayed? Perhaps. Have we lost heart? No. We are organized, we are determined, and we're not going away. We've been talking to State Senator Martin Looney. Tomorrow we're meeting with the delegation from the office of Congressman DeLauro. I got one last story for you. I told you I'm a positivist. I'm going to tell you a hopeful story. Over the weekend, a group of PTSO parents came to Wilbur Cross and worked through the morning and into the afternoon assembling some memorial benches for a student who had passed away. These were volunteers, united by the belief that this school was more than crumbling brick and mortar, more than ceiling panels speckled with mold. We're a family, a place where everyone in this city, regardless of race, class, or culture, can come together and be welcome and be safe and thrive. That building over there at 181 Mitchell Drive, that's our home. And it's teetering on the brink. So my question to you all is, what are you going to do about it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Lara Tejero, and I'm a resident of New Haven, the mother of a senior at Wilbur Cross, and the vice president of the PTSO. I am here today to address an urgent matter concerning the largest high school in our city, home this year to over 1,800 students. Wilbur Cross High School is a beacon of diversity and inclusion, with more than 80% of our student body representing minority backgrounds and 76% classified as economically disadvantaged. We pride ourselves on fostering an environment where students of various ethnicities, socioeconomic statuses, and language proficiencies come together to learn and grow. Our school is fortunate to have a dedicated team of administrators, educators, and support staff who work tirelessly to provide a quality education under challenging conditions. However, the state of our school facilities is a matter of grave concern. Years of neglect have left our building in a state of significant disrepair. Dangerous staircases, closed bathrooms, deteriorating floors, plumbing issues, and leaks are just a few examples of the urgent problems we face. Recently, the library and music rooms were closed due to mold and have yet to reopen. These issues demand immediate action. In the short term, we must address the most acute problems, such as the mold remediation in our library and music rooms, with the urgency they require. But we also need a comprehensive long-term plan to ensure that our facilities are safe, welcoming, and well-maintained. The city and state must prioritize increasing capital funding for New Haven public schools. It is unacceptable that the facilities of the largest high school in a major Connecticut city have deteriorated to this extent. We need enhanced maintenance and custodial services to manage the demands of our school environment effectively. If outsourcing to a private company has not met expectations, we must be willing to reassess and adapt our approach. Our children deserve better. We need to unite as a community to secure the funding and resources that Wilbur Cross High School needs to provide a safe and conducive learning environment. I urge the Board of Education and the City of New Haven to partner with our state representatives to take decisive action to address these pressing issues. Thank you for your attention to this critical matter.
Next up is Henry Mead, followed by James Foreman, followed by Patrick Cannon.
Hi, my name is Henry Mead. I'm a student at Wilbur Cross. I have been for 3 years, and I'm here to really attest to a lot of the problems this building has. I'd like to start by noting that the mold is very severe. In a good half the classrooms, there's damaged ceiling tiles. The library, as was mentioned many times during this meeting, is closed to mold. Other rooms are closed to mold, and this is unacceptable. The building is in a state of constant decay, despite the fact that it's being inhabited by thousands of students and staff members daily. And this is really just, it's a crisis, as was mentioned before. I think the Board of Education needs to seriously consider allocating money to the upkeep of our school, and to removing mold that has been growing in the walls, in the ceilings, and in all parts of the building for years. This is a perpetual problem that has been going on for more than a decade, according to various teachers I have discussed this with. I'm sorry, I'm a little pressured being in front of so many people.
Take your time.
Thank you, thank you. To add to the sort of laundry list of problems at Cross, it's not just mold that's growing in the ceilings and the walls. It's HVAC systems, it's ventilation units, which are spreading this mold throughout the building. It's damaged water pipes, which are causing, which are requiring ceiling tiles to be constantly replaced. And it's roofing as well, as Mr. Grinrod mentioned earlier. So this is just a systemic problem that needs instant fix. And I think if we can't get that, I'm so sorry. I think if we can't get this issue remedied, our students and faculty will remain unhealthy in a building that is unsafe to inhabit. And I believe, generally speaking, that a lot of I believe that a lot of the building's problems are because of the lack of upkeep and the lack of funding being directed to NHPS specifically. I've discussed with many students that my building has mold, and they'll drop their mouths and be like, my building doesn't have mold. I think that alone is proof that we need more money. We need more determination from not school staff. This responsibility of cleaning the building should not be on school staff, but should rather be on institutions that have been hired by the Board of Education and other administrative services to clean the building. We shouldn't be requiring teachers to clean the floors, to clean the classrooms constantly, to bleach the desks and other facilities for students to just be in the room. We should also not be having the libraries closed. We should also not have the music rooms closed. We should not have classrooms closed due to mold growth. And that's all I really have to say. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. My name is James Foreman Jr. I'm the father of a Wilbur Cross sophomore. And I want to thank the board for listening tonight, for what you've done so far, and I hope for acting on what you hear tonight. I am so proud to be part of the New Haven and Wilbur Cross communities. As you know, Wilbur Cross is our largest high school. And as you know, Cross educates more low-income students than any other school in this city. Cross's diversity is New Haven's diversity, is America's diversity, and it is one of the reasons I love this school so much. Our teachers work miracles every day, and I thank you for your passion. You can clap. I want to thank you for your passion and for your commitment. And so I'm proud, but I'm also sad. I am sad that I send my son, who I love more than anything in the world. I send my son every day to a school that I know has dangerous staircases, has non-functioning bathrooms, has mold everywhere, has a closed library, has a pool that could be a community asset, but is instead, as you heard, a cesspool. I'm embarrassed that the other day I told my son, he said that he needed to go find a place to study. And I said, well, why don't you go to the library? And he laughed at me. He laughed. He was like, don't you know the library is closed? I'm a law professor. For many years, I taught education law and policy. And I can tell you that over 60 years, cases from the U.S. Supreme Court to state courts all across America, from Kentucky to Texas to California, have looked at this issue, and every single one has found the same thing. The quality of school facilities has a direct impact on student learning, on student well-being, and on student mental health. So my question, and I'm going to repeat it now because it's the same one Jake asked you, is what are you going to do about it? I would ask that you do two things tonight. First, I would ask that you commit to working with everyone in this room, everyone who has come out, and the many who wanted to but couldn't, to respond to what you've heard. We are here to work on this. We are ready to call, to write, to lobby, to march. We will sit down with you to solve these problems together. We will fight at the state level to demand equitable funding. Some of us will even pick up hammers and drills and forklifts. Now, I'm going to say, not me. Like, I know my limitations. You don't want me around anything mechanized machinery. But here's the second thing. None of this will happen unless each member of the board acknowledges that this is a crisis, as Jake Halper told you. This is an emergency. We need to all stand here right now and acknowledge the problems with the facilities at Cross are not a 10-year problem. It is not a 5-year problem. It is not a 1-year problem. It is a today problem. It's an emergency today, and we all have to act like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick Cannon, followed by Maria Teresa Sana.
I'm not going to get on the microphone. I think I'm loud enough. Mike, can you hear me back there? Louder, Mike?
Pat, I need you to get on the mic. Pat, I need you to get on the mic.
Okay, Dr. Joyner, how are you? You and I.
Good, how you doing?
Quality man there, and I know I can count on him to come through after I'm talking tonight. First of all.
Excuse me, yeah, you need to get on the mic so that it can be recorded.
My bad, my bad. I still haven't caught up with technology. I am off the cuff tonight. I didn't prepare. I saw Melody came up with a great speech. Leslie, great. One of the best union leaders in the country right now. You guys got problems. I walked in the door just as this was starting. I was on time for this meeting. There was one person that wasn't. Mayor, I know you're busy. It's just about taking care of these children. You've got a fire alarm going on here. Do you hear it? Because they sounded it. There's a fire alarm going on. Wake up. Get your heads out of the computers over there. Welcome to Mike Carter back in New Haven, making a ton of money to come back here and help out. Mike, I appreciate you coming back, and I hope you're going to solve this problem, because there's a major problem in this school system. Great kids. They've got problems, but they're great kids. They're going to bring their problems to school, and they're going to be there. And you're going to be there as teachers and social workers and counselors, and this board better be there for these kids. Now, if they can't get to school because of all the problems they got going on in their life, at least when they get there, they shouldn't have problems with the buildings. I was unprepared. Leslie says I get an F for not being prepared tonight, but an A for effort. So I'm off the cuff tonight. I heard so much tonight that I'm so appalled that this is going on. I'm going to tell you, as New Haven Firefighters Union president, I like to think of us firefighters as the heroes. You're the heroes. Cops are great, firemen are better, but teachers, you're the heroes. To get here tonight, and just like that young senior that stood up and was a little caught off guard, he's here because it means something to him. You're here because it means something to him. There's 30 alders in the city of New Haven. You know who's here? One of them. I only see one, correct? Sal? Sal, do something. Help. You're a good man. You come from these people. You're a principal here. Help them out. Fix these buildings. I'm going to finish up with one quick thing. You're going to have to think hard, because I don't know if it's going to relate, and I don't know if you're going to put it all together. The word of the night is seatbelts. Mike, coming down to you, buddy, because you're a big liability guy. Mike's a very quality man, and I'm not here to put him under pressure here. Liability, seatbelts. The city knew that the police department vans didn't have seatbelts. Yet a young man went to the hospital, bounced around, unfortunately, became paralyzed. City laid out $40 million because we didn't have seatbelts, but they knew they needed seatbelts. Get me? Wake up. Everybody hear us? There's an alarm going off, Mayor. There's an alarm going off to the board. Dr. Joyner, my buddy up there, you hear me?
I hear you.
There's an alarm going off. You're going to end up with seatbelts problem, where you're paying out a ton of money because a tragedy happened. Don't let that happen. You've got doors that are not properly up to code. Magnets don't work properly. I'm talking about fire. So when a fire happens, you want to encapsulate the fire, close the door off so it doesn't spread. You've got issues with how many people are in the building. Those are violations. Leslie, we're going to talk to OSHA. We're going to go to the state. We're going to hold these people accountable. Justin Elliker and I are adversaries at times. I'm not here to be an adversary tonight. You know why? Because he's also a father with the kids in the school system. So I know he cares. But we're not going to just shift to this one, to that one. I'm going to do something about it. I'll get back to you, Mr. Cannon. I'll get you back to you, Leslie. We're going to get back. We're going to look into it. We're going to talk to Corporation Counsel. We're going to talk to Labor Director. We're going to talk to whoever. God damn it, get on it. And I'm not being mean to him tonight. He does care. And I'll tell you why he better care. Because he's got an election coming up next year. And it's a 4-year term. Mr. PTA over here. Come from East Rock? Okay. East Rock is where the mayor comes from. Got a lot of friends and support from the neighborhood. I'm out there canvassing. I'm a Democrat also. We want him in place. But we're still going to hold him accountable. The vote comes in next year. You ask what you can do? Vote. If he doesn't get it done, vote for somebody else. There's an alarm going off. Did I tell you that? Everybody hear me? Mike. Loud enough or louder, Mike? You got it, Mike. Dr. Joyner, you hear me?
I do.
All right, buddy. All right, buddy. Get on this. Mike Carter, you got me, buddy? Mike, say a word. Gotcha. Thank you, Mike. I don't know anybody else there. I'm glad. I'm honored to come. Leslie, do I get an A for effort? All right. Not prepared, though. I told you I wasn't. But I did pretty good for not prepared, right? Remember, I heard a word called all-stars before. You're all all-stars. That young man, where is he? You still here in the back? Stand up again. Hey, kid, you're an all-star, and you're going to go places because you care. You got it, buddy. And don't ever be afraid to get up here. Just scream it out. Who cares? They're not going to grade you tonight on what you say. Tomorrow, you hand in your homework the proper way. Make sure the composition is proper. Okay? With that, people, I'm going to walk out of here tonight. I can't stay for the whole meeting. Got to go to another function, another matter. The firefighters are under contract. And like the heroes that are in this room, New Haven firefighters are right there with you. And we deserve a contract too. I got one last thing to say. God bless the children of the city of New Haven and the educators and this board, because I hope you're doing your jobs and I hope you're all working together and all making it happen for the teachers, for the social workers, for the counselors, for the principals, for the children. Remember that. God bless you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. Maria Soana. Maria Son.
Good evening, everybody. Is that I'm on? Good evening, Honorable Board of Ed. And I have been coming here every now and then, and I am a New Haven parent, parent of Wilbur Cross, a student, John Carlos Musser, who's a student representative in the Board of Ed. And I am also a long-term substitute science teacher in Wilbur Cross. I was asked by Mr. Yeah, so it's a great honor to be in Cross, and the Cross Pride actually is very palpable when you come inside in the school, and the teachers are doing, like we've been saying time and again, are doing an amazing job. And I think I'm not going to repeat a lot of the things that's already been said. All I can say is that it's really very tiring to hear the word, we don't have the money. So when John Carlos was telling me all about the situation at Cross before I got into Cross, about the lack of bathrooms, no water source at least, and the roof, he came into a classroom where I think it's Miss Greenwood's class that, everything was damaged by water. I said to him, I was born and raised in the Philippines. I said to him, these are things that only happen in third world countries. And I have worked in many different schools in New Haven as a teacher for several years, but what I saw in Cross really stunned me. So I was going to one of the teachers, Miss Kim Anderson's class, to attend the environmental club's meeting, and there were a couple of big trash bins in the middle of the classroom when it was raining, so to catch the rain leaking from the roof. And again, I was proctoring for an AP exams in the library. When it was raining, there was a downpour and the roof on the side was leaking. So it was just, to me, totally unacceptable. This is the greatest country in the world. And how come we're having these things? And like Jake said, my son is going there, and I believe in public schools. So anyway, it's like, we have so much money. In fact, only in August, I think there are billions of dollars that the United States sent to fund wars in Palestine that's killing children and innocent people. We have all this money. Why can't we redirect this money to actually fund our schools for our children? What I'm trying to say here is that, we probably need to have our officials, the elected officials and appointed officials, pressure the national government to fund our schools more. I think they're being complacent right now because maybe they're in a better position. So we feel really in a very desperate situation. If our teachers are doing miracles every day, I think you all can do better. And I think you should do better. And like what's been said earlier, we should even be doing more, talking more in public meetings like this, and maybe go out in the streets and show that we are ready to demonstrate our collective voices that we cannot take this anymore. There's so much that damage has been done to our children. And it's not for our children to solve. As adults, it is our responsibility to take care of our children. And we seem to be lacking in that. And we're getting an F for that. So thank you and for listening, and have a good night.
Thank you.
There's one raised hand. When you come on, please state your full name, Walterina. Walterina, you may speak. Madam President, that was the last speaker.
Thank you, Dr. White and Dr. Joyner. Are the speakers not working? Or do I still need to?
It's still.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. White and Dr. Joyner, and thank you all for your public comments. We'll move on to the approval of the board meeting minutes of our meeting for September 9th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Downer. Mr. Wilcox, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote to approve the board meeting minutes of our September 9th, 2024 meeting. Mr. Wilcox?
Yes.
Ms. Downer? Dr. Joyner?
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough?
Yes.
Dr. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Musser?
Yes.
Ms. Colon?
Yes.
Mayor Elicker?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well, and so that item passes. And our next item is our personnel report. Dr. Negron?
I am hereby requesting approval of the personnel report in front of you.
Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Wilcox?
I move we approve the action items of the superintendent's personnel report.
Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Ms. Downer, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote to approve the action items of the personnel report. Mr. Wilcox?
Yes.
Dr. Joyner?
Yes.
Ms. Downer? Dr. Yarborough?
Yes.
Dr. Benitez?
Yes.
Mr. Musser?
Yes.
Ms. Colon?
Yes.
Mayor Elicker?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. And so that item passes. I'm not gonna have a voice at the end of today. Finance and operations report, Mr. Wilcox. I'm sorry, finance and operations. Action items.
All right, thank you. Before we get started, is there anything anybody would like to move separately? All right, hearing none, the first item here is I need to recuse myself on one thing. My incredible spouse works for United Way of Greater New Haven, and so I need to recuse on item agreement 6.01. And Dr. Yarborough, if you don't mind taking
Yes.
over.
I'd like to move agreement 6.01 with United Way of Greater New Haven.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Yarborough. Mayor Elicker, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote to approve F&O item 6.01. Mr. Wilcox,
Recused?
Dr. Yarborough,
Yes.
Mayor Elicker,
Yes.
Dr. Joyner,
Yes.
Dr. Benitez,
Yes.
Ms. Downer, Mr. Musser,
Yes.
Ms. Colon,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well, and so that item passes. Mr. Wilcox?
The second thing is because the committee asked for some information that we weren't able to get, we're going to table, I move to table.
I turned doing anything. There we go. Okay. Mr. Go ahead.
You know, you only have to call on me once, so, just to say. I move that we table item 10.01.
A second.
Any discussion? I'm sorry, tabling does not have discussions. Mr. Wilcox,
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough,
Yes.
Dr. Joyner. Dr. Joyner? You're muted, Dr. Joyner. Wilcox, Mr. 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 Wilcox. Dr. Benitez?
Yes. I think Dr. Joyner just said yes.
Shut it off. I'm turning it.
Dr. Joyner, can you just put yourself on mute? We'll go figure out what's going on with it.
Suspicious character.
Ms. Downer?
Yeah.
Mr. Musser?
Yes.
Ms. Colon?
Yes.
Mayor Elicker?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well, and so that item passes.
And finally, I move that we approve the 2 abstracts, the 3 MOUs, the remaining 9 agreements, the 2 amendments, the 5 purchase orders, and the 7 change orders as recommended by the Finance and Operations Committee.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Dr. Yarborough, any discussion? Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Wilcox, Mr. Wilcox. Dr. Joyner, can you mute yourself until I call you? Okay. I don't know. Let's get through this vote and then, Dr. Joyner, if you can leave the meeting and come back in, because for some reason it's when you're unmuted, that happens. I don't know why. So we'll vote on the remaining F&O items. Mr. Wilcox,
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough,
Yes.
Dr. Benitez, I'm going to leave Dr. Joyner for last.
Yes.
Ms. Downer,
Yes.
Mr. Musser,
Yes.
Ms. Colon,
Yes.
Mayor Elicker,
Yes.
Dr. Joyner, Dr. Joyner? Yes. Is that a yes, Dr. Joyner? Yes, okay. Dr. Joyner is a yes, I am a yes, and so that item passes. If you can leave the meeting and come back, Dr. Joyner. Dr. Joyner is back on, so we're gonna continue with the meeting. Next item is the students' report. Mr. Musser, do you, he's. Students' report, do you have a report? Can you, do you want us to, go to the next one and come back? Okay.
Right. I believe it was the end of last school year that the superintendent informed me that I'll be forming a climate and culture committee comprised of students. And so far in trying to find members, I've tried to get one student from every single school, including me and Janali's school. So that's an extra student for Cross and high school and community. So far, we have a student in almost every school except for Eastham's and Riverside. And so we're still trying to look for members from there. At this time, the members we have are, sorry, let me put this up. From off the top of my head, Lila Kelly Walker, Maya Harper's Levy from Wilbur Cross, Lila Kelly Walker's from Co-op, sorry. And also, yeah, okay, now the full list, here we go. Maya Harper's Levy from Wilbur Cross, Drew Lauren Walker from Metro Business Academy, Lila Clay Walker, Fatima Armente, Victor Rodriguez, Natalia Floero, Zuhal Jamal, and oh, thank you, Luca Rivera from Hill House. Yeah, great, thank you, appreciate it. We got that solved. We'll have our, I just sent out a request to find out when people are available to meet in person or virtually, and we'll be discussing potential ideas we have, not only what culture means, the unique culture that every school has, but also systemic issues that every school has with their culture. That's all for now, unless Janelle wants to add something.
Questions or comments for Mr. Musser? Okay, seeing none, does that conclude the students' report? Okay, thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Negron.
Briefly, I just wanted to take a moment today to acknowledge the families throughout the district, as well as our students. We have been in session for a total of 16 days, and I am happy to report that 9 out of 16 of those days, we have had attendance that reaches 90% or better. So again, it's just a quick note of acknowledgement for all the efforts that are being made to ensure that our students are coming to school each and every day. That completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Negron. Questions or comments for Dr. Negron? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on. No president's report at this time. Teaching and learning report, Dr. Joyner.
We had our meeting last Wednesday. The minutes are should be on board docs. I don't know if we scheduled it, but we do have 2 presentations pending. One on careers and the other one on working with students at risk.
Thank you, Dr. Joyner. Questions or comments for Dr. Joyner? Okay, seeing none. Dr. Joyner, Facilities Naming Committee.
We have names. We just have to get some more information. And I will bring those to you at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Joyner. Questions or comments? Okay. Head Start report, Mr. Wilcox.
Yes, thank you. I have some good news to report, which is we are now near 100% enrollment in Head Start this year.
Wow. That was a big deal.
This is especially good because the district has a meeting coming up in a couple weeks, or in a week or so, with the Head Start Regional Office about our enrollment. And so this is particularly good news going into that meeting. Staff has been they've been very busy making sure the required paperwork and medical checkups, physicals, vision screening, and then the required home visits are all happening for all the different schools and programs. And so the report working well with the nursing department on completing some, and then the health folks at Mayo School and at the satellite locations. Everybody's working hard on that. So that was some good news that I greatly enjoy sharing with you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Questions or comments from Mr. Wilcox? I was gonna say really quickly, that's a pretty big deal. I think this is the first time in my 5 years on this board, 4.5 years, that we're close to 100% enrollment. And it's huge. The first year that I was on it, as well as Mr. Wilcox, we were hauled off to Boston to meet with the feds because they were not happy with us. And so this makes me very happy. Thank you all for all of your work on this. Okay, seeing no further questions or comments, Citywide School Building Committee report, Mr. Wilcox?
Yes, the Citywide School Building Stewardship School Building Committee met a week and a half ago. We went over the stewardship report for the district where it covers a lot of the large capital projects. And we saw that a lot of them are on hold due to lack of funding, capital funds for roof systems, pools, et cetera. So that's, the report is posted as part of the materials for that meeting. And I invite, as I do every meeting, everybody to take a look at it. Thank you.
Questions or comments from Mr. Wilcox? Seeing none, Finance and Operations report.
All right, so financial operations, we did meet in addition to the action items that we've already gone over. We then also had the final budget report for this year after a couple, 4 years or so of balanced budgets. We did, according to what was presented in this year, $649,000 over budget. It's almost as if when the district says we need some of this money to be able to do the work, that it's a real thing. So that is the report, I think, is posted with the meeting materials for this meeting as well as for the F&O meeting. We also had a very interesting overview of special education funding, contracting, and the needs in those areas. We know we're underfunded in all areas pretty much, and special education is one of those. So it was very good to get a sense, a good report over how all that works, the types of contracts and so on. I invite everybody to look at that report. We also went over our discussion calendar about things that are coming up, such as in October, in the first meeting, we'll be hearing an update on the part-time custodial contract. And then we've also, in the second meeting, be hearing about the facilities management contract, amongst other things. Invite everybody to take a look at that and suggest any changes, things that we need to cover. And then finally, we are getting closer and closer on the procurement, and I've asked everybody that it be ready that we are able to vote on it at our next Finance and Operations Committee. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Questions or comments for Mr. Wilcox? Ms. Downer?
So when you have your next meeting to address the part-time custodial contract and the facilities contract, will it be an opportunity to address bringing back local 287 there?
So that is something that I know the superintendent and Mr. Carter have mentioned that they're willing to, they are going to be looking at that. As you know, we have the contracts in place till the end of this fiscal year, June 30. And so part of the reason why we have these updates built into our discussion calendar is to make sure there's accountability, that things happen in enough time for putting things back out to bid, if they're going back out to bid, that happens in time. And then also, if things are going to come back in-house, that there's enough time to be able to do the analysis and negotiation with unions, et cetera, on those types of things happening. So we're going to be, I look forward to hearing what the update is to see what progress is being made. And just to clarify, in the 2 meetings in October, 1 meeting, we're going to look at part-time custodial. And in the second meeting, we have on the discussion calendar to get an update on the facilities management.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Downer?
the elephant's in the room right now. This room just cleared out. There was about 40 people here. It's very evident that it's very apparent that we have mold. We have the physical conditions of our school that impact our student learning and development and the well-beings of all that's in that school. The cleanliness, the uneven temperatures that affect just the structural integrity. To even consider putting ABM back on the agenda. Or even consider putting SJ services back on. I sit in this room right now and see stained tiles. Spores coming out of the ducts. To even consider even putting a contractor. I sit on this board, but I hear the people. I see what's wrong in these schools.
Ms. Downer, you're not being heard on the
Should I stand up?
online. No, you need to
Okay.
turn on your mic.
My mic does not
Yeah.
work. I'll stand
So,
up.
no, it's not about you standing up.
Over
They
here.
need to hear the.
Oh, they
need to
will
hear
hear. They will hear. I stand today because I stand with Local 287. I stand to stop the bleeding. I'm not going to sit here like it don't exist. I will not. We will make it very clear that I will stand with Local 287 to get this right. I sleep at night just like everyone else. Everybody goes into these schools. The schools are our community. And this is what we do to our community. To even consider putting back a contractor, we need to consider. We have the money. We need to do it right. And that's all I got to say.
Mr. Wilcox, does that conclude your report?
Yeah, I'll just say I'm in full support of figuring out what needs to happen to make things work. That if there are deficiencies with any vendor we have in any area, that we use our contract language to get those remedies, things taken care of. And so I'm think that part of what we are dealing with, we do not have enough funds to do all the work. See that in our staffing guidelines report.
We can no longer hear online. The microphone has cut out.
Hear you now. Here, one down. Go ahead. Thank you, Dr. Yarborough.
So just to clarify,
Oh,
I'm
no.
going to be a broken record on this. That's perfectly fine if people get tired of it, but
I think
there is
it's,
a-
I still think you're not being heard. Can you guys hear Mr. Wilcox?
Are you able to hear?
No.
No, it's the same.
If I can't hear you. This is,
Are you able to hear now?
yes, but for some
Are
reason.
they able to hear?
It's still gargled. I don't know what's
It
happening.
is. There's some noise. It sounds like a filter issue.
All right. Thank you. I'm set.
We can hear that.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Ms. Downer?
I stand and say, Mr. Wilcox says, if there are deficiencies, there are deficiencies. I them.
Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Ms. Downer? Seeing no further discussion, we'll move on to the next item, which is our governance report. Dr. Benitez? You're muted, Dr. Benitez.
Good evening, board members and the public. As you know, we submitted 2 policies for your consideration on the September 9th, the previous meeting. We will be resubmitting those policies for second reading next board meeting. And we will be meeting on Thursday to continue our work with policies that need to be reviewed. That will be all for now.
Thank you, Dr. Benitez. Questions or comments for Dr. Benitez? Gotta remember to check.
Madam Chair, you're breaking up as well.
Oh. I don't know. Let's
You
get
good?
through this. Food service task group report, Dr.
Yes, thank you. For the food service update, food preparation has been transferred to central kitchen, and that is allowing a more efficient and better process for food preparation in certain categories. The task force has also worked as it relates to food allergies. Mr. Young and our district staff and city staff also made contact and collaborated with the head of nursing and looked at the policies, or rather the procedures that are in place to implement our policies to make sure that our students have allergy appropriate meals. So that is important work that has begun and continues to be underway. Also importantly, our food gaps subgroup debriefed a little bit with us about the food distribution that happened in August, where they implemented a new collaboration through our school district's family and youth services, where they reached out to families specifically. And so that committee is reviewing how that went and are looking forward to making improvements for the next break in the school programming so that they may support families with food who may be interested in it. That's all for my report.
Thank you. Okay, seeing none, I am going to move that we go into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 12006A and E concerning the performance and evaluation of public employee Dr. Mada Negron. And we will invite, I guess, just the board members at this time. He did say he received it. Okay. Is there, however, I'm going to Dr. Negron of our discussion. Okay. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Wilcox. To go into executive session, Mr. Wilcox. Dr. Joy,
Yes.
Dr. Burrow,
Yes.
Dr. Benitez,
Yes.
Ms. Downer, Ms. Colon,
Yes.
Mayor Elicker,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. And so that item, we'll see you in executive. Everybody back? Okay.
Dr.
Okay,
Joyner is not here.
Dr. Benitez, you're not on mute.
I'm sorry, Dr. Joyner is not here.
Oh, fourth screen, we'll give him, I mean, we have a quorum, we can still adjourn. He won't be mad at that. We are out of executive session, back in regular session. There were no votes taken in executive session. And so with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Thank you. Yarborough, Ms. Downer, and Dr. Benitez. Mr. Wilcox,
Yes.
Dr. Yarborough,
Yes.
Dr. Benitez,
yes.
Ms. Downer,
Yes.
Mayor Elicker,
Yes.
and I am a yes as well. Good night, everyone.